and today we are going to be making a Grogu plastic canvas coaster. In your kit, you have a piece of plastic canvas, a piece of drawer liner, some black, white, gray, yellow, green, and brown yarn, the pattern that we'll be following, a plastic, needle, and not included in your kit, you will also need some scissors. To get started, you're going to take your plastic needle and a string of black yarn. It doesn't need to be too long. If it gets too long, it can get tangled. But just, about this length will be fine. You're going to pinch the very end of the yarn between your index finger and your thumbnail. And then you're just going to slip it through the eye of that needle. Just like that. You're going to need a little bit of a tail at the end. And I'll show you what that's used for in a little while. So you're going to hold your needle like this, and you're going to take your piece of plastic canvas, and according to the pattern, there is a black border around the whole thing. So we're going to start with that just because it's an easy place to start. And we're going to start in the upper right hand corner, and it's all black on the top row. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take your needle and go in through the back of the canvas and pull that needle through. We're going to leave a little bit of a tail in the back as well, and I'll show you what to do with that in a moment as well. I think right now, easiest thing to do is just kind of take it over to the side, like along that top line. And then we're going to feed the needle back through the square through the front of the canvas, diagonal from where we started. So it's going to look like a diagonal stitch like that. And then we're just going to keep going along the row. Don't put the needle through the excess tail that we have in the back. Just kind of put it above that tail, and it should hold that tail down and kind of weave it into the back so that it doesn't come loose and unravel those stitches. So we're just going to do that all the way across the top. And now that the tail is covered, we don't have to hold on to it anymore. And we can just keep making these stitches across the top row. And the second row, we have some gray as well as some black, and so I'm going to teach you how to count those stitches out in the second row whenever we get there. Once you get to the very end of the top row, you're going to notice that there is an empty square right here. You can just leave it there if you want to. If you don't want to, what I typically do is I'll just go in and do an opposite diagonal stitch, basically, and just kind of go across it so it looks like a little X in that corner. And then it just looks like that. And you'll be doing the same thing in this corner down here once you get there. Now that we're on the second row, there is some gray, so we're going to have to start counting our stitches. So as you can see on the pattern, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 black stitches before you get to the gray. So we're going to start with those. And because we just pulled the yarn through this square, we can't start here like we have been for the rest of the stitches. So we're going to start here and then go up instead. That way we don't undo the stitch that we just did. And just like that. And then we can start from the top again after that. So that's 1. 2, 6, and 7. Now this yarn is getting a little short, so after this last stitch, because we can't, there's not enough to stretch and go over this way really, to finish out this row. Alright, so now we have the gray stitches out. So there's 10 gray stitches. So we're just going to count out 10 squares up here. Then we're going to go 1 over and start there. And finish the row out because there's no more yarn changes on this row. If I remember correctly, it's also 7 on this side as well. Be careful about this little tail getting a little too short whenever you're pulling the needle through. And it looks like we are running out of yarn before we finish the row out. So I'm going to show you how to change yarn pieces after this stitch. So you're going to turn it over to the back side, and you see these stitches that are kind of raised and diagonal. We're going to go to those, and we can just use these right here that we just made. We're going to put the needle underneath those stitches. It's a little bit harder with this bigger needle, but I typically use about 3 kind of as an anchor for this thread. So you're going to just do that and then pull it through. Pull it through tight, and then cut off the excess. Now to add a new piece of yarn, you're going to do something very similar. So we need gray yarn for the center spot, so I'm going to get some gray yarn and cut it out. Again, you don't want too long of a piece so it doesn't tangle. Thread our needle, and leave that tail, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go to the back side, and we're going to use these stitches this time. Thread that needle through. And you're going to pull it until right about there where that edge is, and then you're just going to hold it down so that it doesn't come out. Because if you don't, it could come free and then you have to start over for that piece of yarn. So we're just going to hold that tight, and then we're going to start our gray stitches here. And typically after 1 or 2 stitches, you can normally let go of that tail and it'll stay put. And try not to stick your needle through that black yarn in the back. And also if it gets caught in this corner, no need to worry, just move it over the corner and then continue pulling that stitch through. And then now you can fold the canvas in whatever way is most comfortable to you. You continue pulling these stitches through because that tail is secure. And then just keep doing these all on the row. And that's how you count the stitches out and change the yarn. You're going to have to do that a lot for this particular pattern. If it doesn't turn out exactly the same as the pattern, that is perfectly okay. It is just a very fun craft you can do, and making something, whether or not it's perfect, is always an accomplishment. Now, once you're finished, it should look something like this. If it doesn't look exactly correct, that's fine, but it should look like this. So now I'm going to teach you how to put the drawer liner on the back. And if you did any of our Pokemon coasters before, I promise you it's easy. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take the drawer liner and set it aside for a second. You're going to take some black thread, and you're going to add the new piece of yarn to the back. And underneath a couple of those stitches and pull it through, just like that. So add that new piece of yarn in, and then you're going to hold that tail down. But before you do anything with the stitches, you're going to take the drawer liner and kind of line it up back here. And then you're going to pinch it down right around there that tail would be. And you're going to take the needle and go through a hole in the drawer liner that lines up with that corner. And then you're going to pull it through like that. And it's going to look a little bit weird. It's going to overlap it a little bit, but that's okay. And then you're going to count 5 squares over, because the bed is a 25 by 25 coaster. You're going to count 5 squares over, including that square you just used. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're going to end your stitch there instead of like we've been doing stitches before. And you're just going to keep doing that all the way across. It's a little bit more difficult because there's already a lot of yarn on the back and you're adding an extra layer. It just adds a little bit more security whenever you're using your coaster, that it's not going to slip and move your drink or cup or bowl or whatever you're using. And if you don't want to add the drawer liner, that's also perfectly okay. They typically stay pretty put in place without it. It's just an extra little peace of mind that I like to have. So I put drawer liners on the back of my coasters. And you're just going to do this all the way around your coaster. And then whenever you're done, I'm not going to do it all the way around right now, but whenever you're done putting the drawer liner on the coaster, you're going to flip it over. And it's kind of a guessing game a little bit, but you're going to find a spot that you think is good, and then you're going to go under a couple of stitches and come back up through the drawer liner and secure the tail that way. And then just cut off the excess. Just like that. And there should be a little bit some flexibility with the drawer liner, even once it's already put down, so that you'll be able to hide that tail if you so choose. And then you're done. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on our social media pages for more fun programming activities.